I'm Lucas Price, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Yardstick and show you a quick demo. Over 40% of sellers fail in their first year, and when a seller fails, the lost revenue from that is typically about 70% of their annual quota. Many of the sellers who succeeded a few years ago are not having the same outcome in today's environment. You need a better process if you want to identify top performers who will continue to succeed regardless of the environment. For a VP of sales, there are so many urgent priorities that often perfecting the hiring process doesn't get the attention that it deserves. We built Yardstick to get sales leaders 90% of the way there with 10% of the effort. One of the things I learned when I was a VP of sales was the power of finding candidates who are just a little bit better. When you hire a candidate who's just a little bit better than the alternatives, they ramp faster, learn from prospects faster, and share more information with the rest of the company, which helps build a better flywheel. When you hire a team of sellers like that, there's a compound effect, and over time, the small differences become huge. Yardstick reduces the waste and loss from failed sales hires using playbooks for interviewing candidates and tracking the onboarding of new employees. These playbooks include structured interviews, scorecards, and tools that provide visibility into candidate interviews and new hire onboarding. I'm going to show you a small portion of Yardstick's tools today. Let's get started. You're looking at one of the many playbooks Yardstick has to identify top sellers. This is a playbook for a seller who's selling into a mid-market customers at a company with an established sales motion. This is the template that you'll start with if you choose this playbook, but everything you see can be customized for your specific role. These are the competencies that have been selected for this playbook. We have a library of over 70 competencies, each with their own library of interview questions. This is the series of interviews, and inside each interview is a series of questions. Similar to what you may have used before with a sales engagement platform like Outreach or SalesLoft, there's a series of steps that creates a consistent and predictable process. Each candidate who is interviewed will get the same interview questions. This reduces bias and allows you to better differentiate between candidates. We're going to peek inside a couple of these interviews. Let's start with the hiring manager interview. Many hiring managers typically ask questions about the candidate's past sales performance. If you're not careful, the questions will be surface level enough that the candidate will control the context, and you'll leave thinking you got the full picture, but you didn't. The candidate may tell you, for example, that they were the #1 seller at their company. They may be trying to give you that impression based on their performance in one particular month at the beginning of a quarter. But if you don't ask the right questions, you'll never know that they were actually in the bottom half of sellers over their entire 2 years at that company. You have to learn this by either repeatedly making the mistake of not going deep enough, or you can use Yardstick and be guided to ask the questions that allow you to unpeel the onion and get the full context. Now let's look at the leadership interview. This is a competency interview. Each behavioral interview question is linked to one or more of the competencies listed above. Research shows behavioral interview questions are particularly effective at helping you predict future job performance for a complex job like sales. You'll notice there aren't very many questions in the interview. When I click here, you'll see that each question has guidance to go along with it to turn each question into a discussion that helps you really learn about the candidate's past behavior. If we put 8 to 12 questions here, you'd spend so little time on each question that the candidate will control the context and you'll run out of time. Each candidate would have a different experience and you just wouldn't get the value from the interviews that you need. Having this level of depth built into each question means that no matter who does the interview, you'll end up with good, actionable information on the candidate. We are constantly improving these playbooks based on the usage of the product, so you'll always have access to interviews that are working in today's environment. I'm going to skip ahead all the way to the end of the candidate journey. This is a series of pulse surveys that each stakeholder will fill out during the new hire's onboarding period. You can set these up for any increments and length of time you'd like, but what we're showing here is pulse surveys that are frequent when the seller is new and become less frequent over the first year. If I'm one of the stakeholders evaluating this new hire, I'll get a link, click on the link, answer a few questions about the candidate, and now I'm going to fill out a scorecard that's very similar to the scorecard that's used during the interview process. Except now, instead of predicting how a candidate will do, I'm answering how the new seller is doing towards accomplishing these goals in performing the key competencies. This helps you see how your interview process is doing at predicting successful hires. It tracks the progress of new hires, and it alerts you to any corrective action that needs to be taken before it becomes a problem. I showed you a little bit of Yardstick that hopefully gives you a little insight into how it works. If you'd like to see more, or you just want to talk about how to hire for sales roles, you can book time with us on our website.